we are here live for Triple T number 94. That's right, getting ever closer to that amazing triple digit. And to think so many years ago, I didn't think I'd make it to three, much less three digits. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. For those of you live on YouTube, hi Mom. My name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always get to follow up saying, no, I don't know everything. I just have a really unique way of asking questions and helping people find the solutions they're looking for. I work with people of all types. I also do corporate coaching. I work with athletes all the way up to the professional level. I do have a website, the tswb.com, THETSWB. That's right, the tall, skinny white boy. Yes, that's actually what it stands for. Welcome to Planet TJ. I also offer a free 30-minute consultation. That is your time to spend with me any way you would like. If you have some questions or you have some challenges that you're working on, I help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD. Lately, the universe has been throwing me a whole lot of relationship stuff. So if you are having some relationship challenges and you want a better relationship with a person and your tribe and your income, all of those are relationships. And I've been blessed to help a number of people now with those departments. Also, for those of you on YouTube, whether you're watching this live or recording, do me a favor, do all the YouTube stuff. Smash the subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notifications when we're back on here. Leave comments, and then leave comments on your comments, because I like the comments. And for those of you that are here live, make sure you got your questions ready for the second hour. Seems like a number of times I'm like, okay, so who's got a question? I know you guys have 30 of them, but you're doing the kind squirrel. You go first. No, after you. Seriously, after you. No, please, you first. You get the idea. Another thing I like to do when we start this off, anybody got anything cool or interesting they'd like to share from that has happened since the last time we were here 7 days ago? Oh, nothing? Oh, I saw that.
Finally finished and actually printed the Understanding Holographic Memory Resolution by me and Brent. I'm super excited, and I get to put it on my website so that the participants in Chicago this weekend can download it.
Uber cool. And cool. How do people find this amazing piece of literature?
dtbhorizons.com, or I can put it in the comments on YouTube.
Cool.
That way you have comments.
Yes. And what does DTP stand for?
Oh, want to play that round again?
Yes.
I don't know if Savo or Elijah know what DTB stands for. I don't know if they were popping.
What do you think it stands for, guys?
My website is DTB Horizons.
So what does DTB stand for?
I don't know if Elijah knows. I feel like Elijah knows. He goes, yes, I know in the comments. Yep. Determined to be. Whatever you are determined to be. Dare to believe was the one from last week.
Oh.
Or no, dare to believe. Did I say dare to be? Dare to believe. Okay.
Yep.
So, anybody else? Any fun and exciting news from anybody else?
Well, It was a nice quiet week, apparently, which isn't all bad sometimes, because sometimes no news is good news. Which leaves us with 54 minutes to cover 3 topics. Can we do it? We're going to find out this week's topics: dating in different schools, danger or attention call, and fridge magnets. All right, here on Triple T tonight. So let's dive right into dating in different schools. This one actually came today from one of my clients who's on getting close to the finish line on their wait to date protocol. And they've been consistently improving, changing, upgrading, becoming higher levels of themselves each time, moving up. And they're really catching on to the importance of all 3 journals, especially now the tribe journal, because with all of the lessons that they're learning and the step ups with each person that they interact with, and yes, they've broke the rules a couple of times and decided they were in a committed relationship, which one lasted about 4 weeks, and one lasted about 3 weeks, and one lasted about 2 weeks. And each time they thought they had the one. This one is the best one. So I taught them 2 more words so far. And they've moved up to a level now where they're attracting much higher people to them. And one of them happens to be an older multi-millionaire who is very attracted to the fact that they are attractive, but also their energy. And this millionaire is not looking for a relationship. This person just likes to have high quality energy people around them to do things. And of course, the millionaires tribe are starting to meet my client. And so my client is now finding themselves in a whole new tribe. And they brought up a reference, a metaphor that I thought was very interesting. When you get into a new school, you don't hang out and date with the first people you meet, because the desperate ones are always the first ones to pull you in, because they'll accept anybody. A lot of times it's the higher quality ones that will stand back a little bit and try and figure out who you are first. Well, it ends up the same way with tribes and dating, because each time you level up to the next level, you grow in a different way. You become that next level person of you. In essence, you are a brand new person in the area. You are the brand new person in school. And I pointed out to my client that when they first started with me, they were the new person in some school in nowhere, Mississippi. Nothing against Mississippi, but I've heard about some of the schools down there. And they've worked hard and worked their way up and have evolved and become new level, new level, new level. Each person that they dated for a short while who turned out to be a lesson, each one of them was a step up. And I pointed out that now they're almost to the level of the private boarding school next to Harvard. And they're still not done. But it's more important now than ever to take everything they've learned, all the communication styles that they've learned now, all the different testing things that they've learned now, all the things that they've put into their journals and keep modifying their journals now, even higher level stuff. I think it was last week when we talked about when you get what you ask for. But you have to remember you're not done asking. So now that they've reached this level and they are now in an entirely new tribe arena, they have to make sure the wait to date protocol is held even stronger. Is there a person in that tribe, or do they have another level up to go yet? You never know where the top is. It's just easier to look down and see where you've come from. There we go.
How did you know? I do have a question. In thinking you never know when you're at the top. So I'm following it in the idea of a mountain. But what if at least when it resonates with you, like you feel it through your body entirely, would you consider that the top, or would you consider that you're on the trail and this is where you are right now and how far you've come so far?
There is no top because we keep on rising.
I was just going to say the last two words you said answered it. So far. I'm at the top so far. And if I've made it this far up, like Elijah said, there is no top.
Well, I think like, you know, when you get to a place and you're not, you know, you're not where you want to be yet. And you're looking around and you're trying to figure out where the next place is going to go. And it's almost like you didn't come this far to come this far. Like you didn't come here just to be here. There's more. Does that make sense? What is it? I didn't come this far to come this far. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. But tell me what would be the absolute top where somebody could never improve on anything ever again?
No. I'm sorry. I was thinking of like as you're maneuvering in and out of different tribes and the people around you, as you evolve, the people around you continue to evolve. So perhaps that's the new top.
Yep. And
your new top.
And you may be, this is another part of what came out of today as well. You don't know who you are the lesson for.
Well, that's a good one too.
You don't know who needs to meet you so that they can move up to the next level through the lessons, whether that be setting an example or through an interaction. Back to what I talk about so often, who's the expert? You may meet some triple black belt biochemist, da da da, that you're like, woo, brain out to here. And they're trying to figure something out, and it took them meeting you for you to say something so innocently profound that they get to break out and move up to the next level. And you may be in that tribe for the exact same thing. You believe that you've reached that pinnacle. This is it. I am at the tippity toppity top. And then you meet somebody who says something so profound and the fog moves away. And you're like, oh, there's a new level. And Elijah just put in Sonder, the realization that everyone in this world is living a life just as complex as your own. Yes. Yes, Holly.
So a few things that came, I mean, this kind of is covering some of the same ground we already covered, but just a couple thoughts that came to me. One is, I think it's interesting, and maybe this is just me, but I think some people, as we go through our lives, will discover the people who are at the top are people that when we were less mature, we thought were at the bottom, because we start judging based on different things as we mature, as we learn. So I thought that was kind of an interesting, somebody maybe your king is somebody who you think is a 3 and you got rid of them too early. I've heard people talk about having their funnels inverted, and they're too quick to cut people out of their lives when they first meet them over stupid things. But then once somebody's in their life, they won't get rid of them for anything. And they're saying what it really should be is, hey, you could be in my life. Everybody could be in my life. I don't know who you are. I'm going to get to know you. What TJ was saying about, till they get to know you. But once you're in my life, if you're doing toxic things, if you're going against my boundaries, I'm capable of cutting you out at that point. The closer you get to me, the narrower the funnel. And then another thing that we kind of said is just kind of the idea. I think that as we change, even if the people around us don't change, our ability to see them, our ability to understand them, our ability to interact with them changes. So by default, if we change, our tribe changes, even if the people stay the same. And as we were saying, the people around us are also hopefully improving. And so they're always someone new as well. But I think it's very true. Some people are meant to be in your life for a season, and some people, because they're changing and they're becoming your new tribe, are going to stay with you more long-term. And maybe it will be even they'll leave your life and come back into it again once they've gotten to that point and you've gotten to that point. So anyway, just a few thoughts that were running around my brain.
Absolutely. Well said. Savo.
I just want to say thank you, Holly, for sharing that. That was really good. I like your clarity of thinking. Also, Dr. Wayne Dyer says about people who. What was the last thing you said, Holly? Can you remind me? My mind just started to chase squirrels.
I think I was talking about some people will change with you, and so they'll be your new tribe, and some people won't, and they're only supposed to be in your life for a season.
All right. So he says when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yep, absolutely. Lenora.
So this morning I found the cutest, cute meme. I don't know if you want to call it a meme. It's a ghost with a flower, and it says, the people lost during your healing journey are only meant for the unhealed version of yourself. And I just thought that was really, really beautiful and profound.
Thank you for sharing that, because it tied right into a little thing that one of my squirrels brought me is you'll have people that are still wanting to converse with a version of you that is no longer alive. You're not the same person today as you were yesterday or last year or all the above. And yet that person from last year is the only version that they know. And they don't have to like the person today. They should get to know that person and decide, but a lot of them won't. Those are the ones that want to push you back into the little box of who they knew. Well, who do you think you are? I knew who you were in high school. Yeah, I hate to break it to you. That was a while ago. I haven't been that person for quite a while. Yeah, come to think of it, you were kind of a little jerk in high school. So have you evolved, or seems like maybe you decided to stay on that level? Don't know. But when you go back to thinking about the concept now of dating in different schools, each interaction, especially if you move somewhere, kind of like starting all over and walking into that first classroom. You knew nobody and nobody knew you. And it's up to you to decide how much of the old luggage you want to bring with and who you want them to find out you are. And it's up to us to decide how much we want to evolve and grow and constantly bring out new versions of who we can be. As we do, the tribes that we will attract will also improve. Just like with my client today, I said, do you think if you would have found out who that multimillionaire is whose property you can see, if you would have met them 3 years ago, do you think that they would be inviting you to hang out with them? Nope. No, nope, 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 nope. And yet today, they've evolved to a level where that tribe is completely, fully inviting and welcoming them in. Felt like, yes, Lenore.
I think that's and I follow the idea of it. I understand why it happens, but I think that's such a sad part of something that happens is that your tribe does evolve when you had what you would consider a meaningful friendship with somebody and it evolves. And for some reason you literally don't connect with them. And it's all of a sudden like this conversation that was really, really good is like, no matter what, it's not a match. And I get it. It still makes me sad.
Yep. But that goes right with the saying that sometimes evolving means that the only way to get to the other door or the other side of the door is you have to be drugged through the keyhole. And you can't bring all of your junk with you.
For that one.
Have now.
I thought you were going to say the only way to go through the doorway is to go through by yourself, and then you can there, what's her name says it a certain way. Lisa Nichols says it a certain way that you have to go through the doorway yourself, and then you can go back and encourage people to go through the doorway, but you have to go through yourself. You can't bring them all with you.
Sometimes the change has to be drastic enough that you actually have to be drug through the keyhole, and you don't get to bring any of the old luggage with.
Good one.
And when you look at especially your potential of where you could be, what you could be, and what you inspire to be, especially if you get to a level where you want to fearlessly, relentlessly strive for levels that you don't even know exist right now, there will be times when certain people will have to be left behind. And it doesn't mean you burn the bridge, doesn't mean that you discount them, slander them, whatever. You wish them all the best in love and hope that someday they find the same options, potentials, abilities to become more than they are as well. But you can't let them continue to drag you back down to their level, to appease them and so that they feel accepted. You can lead by example, but don't walk backwards. Yes, Elijah?
What happens when you realize you're the one who got left behind? How do you deal with that?
That's a good time to look in the mirror, isn't it? And there's a lot of different places that people are going to go. I know, because I've had to look in the mirror a couple of times. I've got some friends that have accelerated to levels that I wish I could have kept up with. But in the end, I am so glad they made it. Now I got to figure out what caused me to not shift gears as quickly as they did. Lenore?
That's such an interesting question, Elijah, because I was thinking earlier, what is it about coaching and what is it about me working with other coaches that I enjoy so much? And it's because they help me see a different perspective. And there are times where, and I know you absolutely have this ability because you've shared this with me, that I will have a conversation by myself with other people and I will bring them in. And there are times where their insights, if I'm not doing something and I'm feeling stuck and I'm feeling trapped, or of the many things that I am convinced that I will continue to feel throughout my life. And it's just an evolution of myself. So it's not necessarily a very specific thing that I keep going around. It's just kind of a general feeling. But when I feel stuck, I bring these people in and I will literally sit with probably a box of tissues and a notebook and a journal and just the things that they'll say to me and the insights. And I do retreat inward for like a good week or two because it's such a helpful shift. And I need to figure out what I need to do because there's so much freaking chaos going on in the world. And there's so much stuff of, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be doing this. And I'm like, I don't care about any of it. I only want to focus on how I can help me. And depending on which coach I feel like really resonates with me, or even friends that truly understand how to approach the way that I'm feeling rather than point a finger at me, it becomes much more helpful. And as I do that, it starts to move. And I love that TJ had pointed out the fog, it starts to clear because I forgot that the fog starts to clear. It's not a permanent fog. It's not a permanent, you're in cement, Lenore, you're not going anywhere. It feels so heavy, but the more I keep looking at it, it starts to move and I can find other things that are going to help me go in a better direction. If any of that helps, I hope it helps.
Yay! Awesome insight. Thanks for sharing that. Any other questions, thoughts, epiphanies on this before we change?
Kind of, so I had this friend who moved to Germany like maybe a decade ago, right? And in many ways, I feel like he left me behind, right? But it wasn't just me, he left all of us behind, right? And we were a very close unit. And there's four of us, all really good friends from the same year in school. We've all known each other that long. And, he left the other three of us behind. Or at least that's how I feel. And this happened before I got into hypnosis and coaching and stuff like that. So I have died and been reborn a couple of times since then. And I am very different from the person he knew before he left. And he has tried a couple of times, in the previous few years to kind of get in touch or, oh, I'm coming to London, let's hang out. And it's just like, I'm not that same dude anymore, my friend. You know what I mean? So it's not like, it's like you left me behind, but now when you're coming back, I'm not the same me that you left behind. I'm a different me now. And so there's also a little bit of resentment there because he was a very inspirational person to me. He was one of the ones who I wanted to be more like of all the friends I knew. And last week, like 8 days ago, some of you know this already, some of you don't, but 8 days ago, a different friend of mine, a colleague from work, died, right? And I've been struggling with that and all the shit that goes around that.
Mm-hmm.
And with the whole like life is precious and you never know how much time you got and all these other thoughts, it's like, well, I don't want to be still mad at my other friend for doing what was best for him because I thought he left me behind. But at the same time, I'm still angry about it. Right? So there's a little bit more context around my original question about, well, how do you deal with it when you feel like you're the one who got left behind? Don't get me wrong, in many ways I've also left him behind because I've improved massively since he moved to Germany, right? But there's still some feeling of like betrayal or something. I don't know what.
Question for you. In his time there, do you think he improved himself or idled or went backwards?
In his time where? In Germany?
Yeah, his time away. The time that
Oh, I'm sure he would consider himself improved, like he got married here in London. He left and went to move to Germany very shortly after he got married. It's because his wife was studying there.
uh,
So that's why he moved there. But he's been successful. He's had 2 kids and all this stuff. And I'm sure he's improved from, like, if you were to ask him, I'm sure he's improved. If you were to ask me to judge him, yeah, he's grown up a bit, He was always going to be successful no matter where he was. I don't think him going there made him successful. I think he was already going to be successful if he stayed, and he was successful over there too. Yeah.
So do you think you're just mad because he got successful somewhere where you didn't get to watch the progress and and be part of.
No, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. Because I think I understand the I'm gonna get to see some. I don't get to see others. If I wanted to ask him about it, I'm sure he would tell me. And I certainly have the skills now, since he's left, that I've learned that I could, model what he's done or something like that. I certainly have learned that kind of stuff too. So I don't think it's that. No.
I don't know if this will help at all. It might not be even close, but I was just thinking about something similar that happened to me with we had a group of friends and a couple people kind of left, and the rest of us who were left behind got very bitter about it. And in at least my case, the problem was the meaning I gave to them leaving. And in our case, we were giving the meaning was that it was a rejection and that they didn't think our friendship was valuable enough to stick around. Yeah, they needed to go for their purposes, and that wasn't the problem. The problem for us was the meanings we gave it to what it meant, how they felt about us, but that were not real, that were all in our own heads. I'm not saying it's the same meaning, but I'm just kind of curious, what meaning did you give to his decision to leave? And what did that mean about you, or did it mean anything about you?
Felt a bit used, Like I helped him through a lot of shit, dude. Like I'm the one who lied for him, and I'm the one who took the blame for him, and I'm the one who did all this stuff for him. And it's fine. Okay, you're gonna leave, you're gonna live your life, whatever, that's fine. But it's like I didn't find out till like it was already a done deal. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, by the way, after today, I'm not going to see you again. I'm moving to Germany in like 2 days' time. Do you know what I mean? And I understand, you fall in love, you get married, you whatever, your priorities change, but like, and if you talk to him now, he will tell you I'm like the greatest guy. Right. And he will still speak very highly of me, because I'm sure he does still remember all those things, and he does miss me and everything. But I have this bitterness inside me a little bit. And since my other friend died a week ago, I don't want to have that anymore. I want to just get back to being good mates.
Good.
Because what if I lose another one?
Right.
And I don't get to say the good stuff before it's too late.
A quick follow-up question to that. So do you feel like when he waited to the last minute to tell you, was that because he didn't value all the contributions to your life, or do you feel like it was?
No, it's because he didn't want to tell me the bad stuff. He didn't want to leave. He didn't, it was too hard for him to tell me goodbye. That's what it is. Right?
Well, at least you found out. At least you found out from him. The other reason to say that is a buddy of mine back home got all PO'd at me because he found out that I was going to Yellowstone for my internship from his mom. But his mom found out because my grandmother wrote the gossip column for the local newspaper, and you couldn't keep a secret from her unless you threatened people with killing the whole family. So he finally got a hold of me and was all bent out of shape about why I wasn't going to tell him. And I'm like, how did you find grandma? I'm like, dude, I can't beat grandma. She was the internet back then. She was Google. Grandma was MSNBC before we had more than 3 channels on the TV. And the only reason I bring that up is at least you got to hear it from him. Whatever demons or ghosts he had to deal with about holding back and wondering all the scenarios that he put together as to how it was going to go down. I don't know which scenario you played out when he finally told you, but it apparently was one of the better ones, or he wouldn't have taken the time to look you up when he got back.
It's bad, man. It's not
Right?
the same, you know.
Yep.
And it never will be the same. You
No,
can't go back, you know.
but you can decide what you want to do tomorrow. You can find out who that new version of him is, because we both know that the old versions are no longer around. But that's up to you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I don't want to know, you know.
We're here for you. You're stuck with us right now, so.
Yeah, you got that backwards.
Good. So we're in agreement then. So there. And stuff. So you want to talk about danger or attention call? See how we can turn that into it?
What?
That's the next topic.
Was that your next topic?
Yeah, danger or attention.
Yeah, let's go. Next topic. Sorry, I didn't mean to hog the mic.
Oh, no. Because there's something in here that when you brought this up, kind of, this one came out because last night went to bed fully exhausted, feeling like I got run over by a Mack truck, had a little too much 40-hour fitness this weekend, and my body apparently, for some reason, is not 18 anymore. I don't get it. I just, so I'm dead asleep, and about 10 to 1, I wake up to the neighbor dog barking and barking and barking. But if any of you have ever owned enough dogs, you know how there's different barks? There's the I'm lonely, I'm bored, I need attention bark. And then there's the there's danger, somebody needs to come here now, or they're on a chain and there's a couple of, like if there's coyotes or a rattlesnake or something, that bark is completely different. And finally, after almost 40 minutes of barking, while our two dogs, are sound asleep in our bedroom because they know that this is not a danger call. I'm finally like, all right, something's got to happen. Apparently, the owners are wearing earplugs. They're out cold. They don't understand. Whatever. I grab my flashlight and I go out. And it turns out it wasn't the dog that I thought it was. There's a dog, another good dog. Right on. But there was something about me going out and flashing the flashlight around that I think the neighbor dog may have sent a little message out over the Barky line or the Yap chat that they were all enjoying. And I went back in the house and laid down, and about 2 minutes later, or when I went outside, I realized it was all the dogs in the neighborhood were on Yap chat and hanging out on the Barky line. For those of you that remember what party lines were all about back in the day. And that's when I realized they were just yapping and chatting and asking for attention. Now, why do I bring this up? Dude, talking about dogs barking, really? It got me to thinking about thinking our thoughts. And sometimes when we have certain thoughts or there's parts of our body that pull up some pain or something, is that pain a danger call or is it simply an attention call? Are the thoughts running through our head simply because we aren't in control of them and they're just wanting some attention? Or are they actually trying to reach out and say, yo, hey, 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 this needs to be addressed? And I think sometimes we, I have to say I'm a little envious of people that have gotten good at meditating. I've been taught by some of the best meditators on the planet. And yet when I tell them when I sit down quietly, I feel like the person who's in the room with 42 different televisions on, all on different channels, all the volumes are turned up. And the quieter I become, the more I realize how many televisions are on. There are certain people, even when I was in high school, or middle school, high school, I know without a doubt, thank God the doctors back then had no idea what ADD, HD, DD, the D to D to Ds, what those DDs are, because I had 80 of them. And I would sit there, because I'm so tall, when I put my feet flat on the floor and straight up, the desk would actually sit on my legs. And I would sit there and music would be playing in my head while I'm listening to the teacher and I'm tapping and, I'm doing the whole drum thing while I'm listening to the teacher teach. And if we were on the second floor of the school, the whole classroom could feel me bouncing. And I wouldn't even know I was doing it because it took me that distraction to be able to focus on what was in front of me. Just like when I'm working out in the shop, I found out my neighbors listen to really good music, whether they want to or not, because the music is something that I'm familiar with. I know the lyrics, I know the beat, and it has enough distraction for me to pay attention to the project I'm working on. So is that a danger or an attention call? Lenora?
I'd say it's your perception as to whatever you would like it to be. I know when it came to, Elijah once had said, when it comes to somebody in trance, and he said, it looks like whatever it looks like to you. And I think that's something very true, even when it comes to meditation, because they're like, oh, clear your mind, just focus on one thing. And I can't focus on the flickering of a candle and clear my mind. I can focus best when I'm either having a conversation with somebody, or I'm actually having a dialogue with whatever information I'm learning or I'm looking to retrieve or talking out. And I consider those my meditations. I don't particularly, and somebody, I think it was Don Napani, and he goes, you're not a monk that's been practicing for 20 years on a hilltop for total silence. You're here. When it looks like what you think meditation looks like and what you're doing down here compared to being up on a mountaintop without any distraction is completely different. So to simply focus on one thing. So even if you imagine yourself, I feel like you've probably done this, imagining yourself being on stage as a rock star, that is your meditation for being on stage and being a rock star. You can consider that a form of meditation. It's focused attention. If you consider it simply focused attention versus I'm quiet, I'm clear. That's how I consider it. So whether it's a warning sign that comes up in your body, how do you want to interpret it? And then dialogue with it. What do you want to share?
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Rockstar. The other reason I brought this up is I think it also comes down to our upbringing and our level of stress, resilience. Yes, what an amazing, I love that one. Elijah put in there, pretend you know exactly what to do and then pretend you're not pretending. Yes, it's amazing the amount of things people can do if you tell them to just pretend you know what to do. And as soon as they start, they can do things they have convinced themselves were impossible. Anybody else got any input, questions, ahas on that before we try to fit in one more quick little topic to finish off the first hour? Yes, no? Well, the last one we should be able to clean up, we'll see in 6 minutes. Fridge magnets. Everybody's like, and? Yes, fridge magnets. This came from a conversation my wife and I had this morning where she saw a little write-up that they're now making more and more fridges that magnets don't stick to. And I was like, what? Hey, Mark, thanks for joining us. And so we got to talking about it, and one of the things that stood out was whoever wrote the topic made a very values and criteria judgment. They said that the fridge makers are now leaning more towards making the refrigerators so that magnets don't stick to them, because kitchens look less desirable with stuff stuck to the fridge. And I went, wow, by whose values and criteria? Because when I grew up, the fridge was the award center. If you did a really cool drawing and it got stuck to the fridge, ah! If you got a really good report card and it got stuck to the fridge, ah! And then when they came out with the magnetic letters, and you could do all the cool little, the fridge was that one place in the house that just had that little, I don't even know what word to call it, mystique, the anchoring, whatever. And it wasn't so much that I give a rip that they're starting to make refrigerators out of actual stainless steel sometimes. A lot of people don't realize that magnets will not stick to actual stainless steel. If you've got a refrigerator that's stainless steel with magnets on it, I'm sorry. It's not really stainless steel, but it looks pretty. And some of the retro fridges that they're making now are made out of a fiberglass plastic composite. That's how you get those really cool colors. And I like Nancy posted on here that the fridge was the center of positivity. In some houses, it absolutely was. And so I think the main thing that kind of set me off on that was when they made the bold statement that refrigerators that had stuff stuck to them made the kitchen look less attractive. Then keep your fridge clean, whatever. I like having stuff on the fridge. In fact, one of our houses, the refrigerator, we had two of them, and one of them, you had three sides to decorate, and the top. It also, to me, gives a little personality to the house when you go in and you see somebody's refrigerator. You know, what's important to them? There's coupon clipper Karen, whose refrigerator is covered with, you know, all this week's latest coupons. And then you got, like I say, the proud parents. And their refrigerator is covered with the latest rendition of their soon-to-be Rembrandt or Picasso, hopefully on paper and not on the fridge itself. And so I just wanted to bring that up and give you guys some little flashbacks to the refrigerators that you grew up with and let you decide. Do you think that the refrigerators should be non-magnet friendly? Or is that just something that some writer mistakenly decided was a good topic or a good issue? Lenore?
For me, my fridge was getting so bad that when you would open the door, would start to slide down, and it was getting a little chaotic. So I actually had to completely eliminate everything because it was starting to become my filing cabinet. But I do like people's fridges with all their magnets and stuff. And I used to collect a whole bunch of magnets, of which now they're just in a bag. So if it keeps you happy and you can open your door without your papers hitting it like a filing cabinet, by all means, have at it.
Yeah. And Elijah put in a really cool deal that ours has magnets from places we visited and thank you letters from people who came to visit and stay a while. How cool is that? And yes, I've got some cool magnets of places that I've visited, and some magnets that were sent as, little gifts. And yes, I also have that one box full of the refrigerator magnets that didn't make it to the rehang. Yeah, Nancy, I've got magnets from places I've visited or my son has visited. Yes, that's what again, that was my whole thing of, it wasn't so much that the manufacturers are starting to create these refrigerators that magnets won't stick to. It was simply the statement made by the writer of the column that they're doing it because it makes the kitchen look less desirable. And that brings us just past the top of the first hour. Any more inputs, ahas, epiphanies, thoughts you'd like to share on any of the three topics tonight? Yes, no, maybe. Is it time to move on to hour number 2? If so, who has some questions or topics? There we go. Holly's off for the races. Here we go. What do you got for us, Holly?
Thinking about this a lot, especially the last week or so. So we've talked about the analogy of monkeys and fish. And, the idea that the monkeys are asking the fish to climb the tree and they can't do it because they're a fish. So I think the first step, and I have a theory that everybody is a monkey. Let's assume there are more monkeys than there are fish. I have a feeling that all of us are monkeys in some areas of our lives, and all of us are fish in some areas of our lives. And we kind of have to learn what those areas are. But I think the first step, obviously, is learning that you are a fish. It gives you a bunch of insight. It helps you understand your life better, how to orient your life better. But now I'm kind of, at least for me in the areas where I am a fish, I'm getting to that area of, okay, I can see that I'm a fish, but how do I help the people around me that don't see that and don't want to see that? How can I interact with them in healthy ways while still saying, when you tell me to climb the tree, I'm not going to climb the tree. And once again, I think a fish could climb a tree if that was its number one goal. It could probably build a tank. It could probably swim up, but it's going to spend its whole life doing that. And it's not making the best of its life if it does that. So, how do you tell the people in your life, hey, you want me to swim to the middle of the ocean? I've got a special, talent for that, but I'm not going to be spending my life climbing trees just because you think I should be. How do all of you handle that? Especially with people who actually have influence in your life, whether it's an employer, family member, somebody that you can't just walk away and say, sorry, I'm doing my own thing. Or a client if you're not employed.
Okay, rules for the second hour is I let everybody else answer first, and if I've got 2 cents left at the end, I answer so I can learn as well. And so Elijah's up. Elijah.
So I will refer you to a quote by Robert Downey Jr., and it goes like this. Listen, smile, agree, and then do whatever the fuck you were going to do anyway.
Bam.
Nice, love it.
Anybody else? All right.
I do like that quote, Elijah. That is a good one. For me, I have had to learn the exquisite art of which I continue to practice every day and probably will practice until the breath leaves my lungs. The art of boundaries. And a lot of you know that I have a trait of speech language pathology. that is, had you talked to me at 18 years old, like I was following the protocol, I was following the, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you will stay at a salary job until the end of time. And other things have shifted along the way, thank God, but also because it felt so unnatural to not do what I wanted to do. It was so heavy and it was so terrible. And it was literally very apparent that things needed to change and things were getting worse internally. And it just became more and more apparent that things needed to change. And when I started to ask for help, and then when I started to set boundaries and say, these voices can no longer have this impact on me. And yes, it is, for me, there were times where it was like somebody came in and leveled the entire city. And then there were other times where it felt like I was chipping away at this fucking iceberg with the tiniest hammer and chisel. And it's just something that, okay, this is where I am right now. And they continue to shift. And when I go inward and I really what's resonating with me and notice, oh my God, this is moving me entirely. And what is this? And I want more of this. I just keep shutting things down, going, I can't let this person in. And I have to keep them so far, and finding ways to do that. You get really creative. I've gone down to one earpiece and really low volume talking to certain people so that they quite literally don't impact me, that they don't impact me. But that is the way that I needed to protect myself. And if that's the way I need to continue to protect myself until I get stronger, great. One thing that came up for me this week, and I was sharing it with a very dear person to me, and I had said, it's when I think about this thing, I literally see myself crumbling and I fall. And I have in my head, I have people that are holding me up because I can't hold myself up. And in noticing, I think somebody had said earlier, I think it was you, TJ, when you had said, what's the difference between an alarm, a tiny siren or an alarm? Like, what's repeating itself? That was coming up enough times, and it caught my attention that it was, oh, okay, this is really apparent. I need to work on this. And figuring that out, it doesn't make sense when you're looking at all these thousands of pieces, but when you look behind you, you're like, oh, how did I not see that? Oh my God. And it's just the art of the evolution of you is the best way that I could say it.
Yep. Go ahead. You have to admit yourself, Mark. Mike's mute. Do you love technology? It's okay. Keep working at it. While Mark's working on his microphone, one thing I do want to throw in, you can be whatever you want to be.
There we go.
There. Okay, go ahead, Mark, and then I'll follow up afterwards.
I was just going to say that a fish and a monkey are the same, if you want to carry that metaphor forward. And it's just a question of evolution. What Leona said is, again, I don't try to do change work with my clients. I try to help them evolve. And it's all about becoming more, because when you evolve, you learn something new, you become bigger. And incrementally, my clients move forward by incrementally, every time they come in, they gain a new skill, they evolve. So the sum total is they become. It's all about, becoming. So when I do what I do, people become more. And that's really what I try to help people to do, is become more when they walked in. And that's how I see my role, is helping people become, to evolve.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
what I was about to say, you don't have to be one or the other simply because the others are demanding it. If you're a fish and the monkey demands that you
Thank
climb the tree, what happens? Eventually, you need to get back in the water and be a fish or you die. Same thing, you grab that monkey and you go, yo, come spend your time at the bottom of the ocean with me. Eventually, monkey needs oxygen or it dies. And the analogy that I use that with the most of being judged by monkeys because you're a fish and you can't climb a tree simply means that they don't understand your specialty, what you're capable of. And we need monkeys and we need fish because of their special, unique abilities. But when you are one or the other and you are being judged by the other because you cannot do what they can do, you have to look at yourself and go, am I going to take on this feeling because I'm a fish and the monkey's mad at me because I can't climb a tree to grab a coconut? Sometimes you have to judge the battle you're in. Is it correct? Is it something that you can rise up to? If you're a fish and they're telling you that you got to climb the tree and grab a coconut, like you pointed out, Holly, yeah, always at least 3 solutions to every event, situation, or problem. But at the end of the day, the 4th solution might be, you know what? Screw you. I'm a fish. Get your own damn coconut. And you evolve your tribe and bring it up to a level where you are in a bigger school of fish that leads you to better waters. Or you become the monkey that gets in with a better tribe that shows you better trees to climb where the coconuts are more abundant. But don't let yourself be judged because you're not one of the others where you may not want to fit in. You don't have to. It's a big world. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I guess another one is, I think there's a short term and a long term. Like in the long term, I can say you're not my tribe, but in the short term, they can hurt me. But I guess you just laugh it, lump it kind of thing, or I don't know.
Even in the short term, it's okay to stand up for yourself if what you stand up for is true. If you're standing up for what is true, whether it be at work or something, and you can honestly say, I'm a fish. You're a monkey. I don't climb the trees. You don't go to the bottom of the ocean to get the stuff that I do. Let me do what I'm good at. You do what you're good at. And if the environment turns toxic because of that, especially if it's work, some of you know my inability to be employed by corporations because I'm not very hireable. But one of my mottos has always been I was looking for a job when I got this one. And I'm a very good worker. I'm a very quick learner, but I don't deal well with dumb upper management. And there seems to be a good good collection of them out there. I've met a number of them.
I have a question for Holly. So, because there's so much context behind this that's unknown to me and probably most of us here. And also, even if you share the context, I would not know the feeling and the situation as much as you. So, Holly, what time is it where you're at?
It is 6:16 p.m.
Oh, right. So you're 1 hour from California. The difference. So here's the question for you. If I came to you and I was talking about being a fish and monkey asking me to climb the tree and everything else, that what that means for you, what would you tell me? What would you, if you were my last hope?
Wow, that's a really good question. I'm gonna have to think about the answer. It's the right question, though, definitely. Wow.
Yep. That's why I love this crowd. You want time to think about that while we bring up another topic, or?
Ooh, yeah, I think I'm gonna need to think about it for a minute. A lot of stuff's coming up, but putting words to it is a whole nother thing.
Awesome. Anybody got something else while Holly is processing and coming up with amazing outlooks and ahas and epiphanies on that?
If nobody brings another topic, I always love to talk about shadow work and parts integration. It's becoming more and more of my session and daily. Spend a lot of time working with clients when nothing else works. That works, and so if people would like to share and their experience, yeah, working with clients and maybe your own personal experience.
Nora.
Somebody had shared with me this week about, so we were talking about parts, and she had shared, because we were talking about something that was very personal, and I was actually talking about money. And as I was talking about money, my stomach was really activated. And what I was saying, she literally was saying back to me, she's like, that's not you. Who is driving the bus? And when she had said who's driving the bus, and the way that she was shaping it was quite literally that my true self is the bus driver. I have younger parts that happen to resemble gremlins of sorts, and they come up from the back seat and they try and take the wheel. And she said, when they take the wheel, notice it, get them back in their seat, and you get back in the driver's seat. And the way that she was saying it really shifted quite a bit, because there are times where I will have the analogy and metaphor TJ came up with about parts being on stage was fantastic. And I would go up and talk to them. What she very much shifted was when she had said, who's driving the bus? That only, TJ would say, only one person can be in the spotlight right now. Who's reading from an old script? And just that shift made a huge difference. So I like now being able to notice other people's perspectives, which is why I love talking to so many people. They just literally highlight different parts for you, and you're like, oh my God, that's right. That's not me. But I would identify so much of it that I had no freaking clue that it was a part. It was just literally a part of me, not a part of me. So just even shifting that freaking word.
I'd like
Apart
to jump
from
in.
that.
Shadow. Oh, Elijah, do you want to
No,
take
you go
it?
first, Fran. You go first.
I was going to jump on Savo's comments about shadow work, that I think that's the time when we really need to bring out our absolute compassion, because usually we're really angry at the shadow part of ourselves. And that's so unhelpful. Savo, can you're nodding your head, can you tell us about how you find compassion with shadow work, please?
Compassion is king's energy or queen's energy. And when we talk about shadow work, if we talk about archetypes, king in masculine archetypes, king, magician, warrior, and a lover, then we start to notice there's different emotions associated to different parts. And that's how Jung would start the integration. And then we have counterparts. With feminine, we have queen, and then we have mother. Just like the warrior in masculine, we have mother. We have beloved as a lover for masculine. And then we have wise woman as a magician for masculine. And so when we start to notice these different parts of ourselves, they all carry their emotions. And lover carries sadness, carries love. Warrior can carry anger. And the warrior is sits in the place of the shadow, because usually warrior is facing south. And we have magician. Magician is usually the emotion is fear. Magician is, we all carry a lot of magician energy because we all have propensity to do work on ourselves and other people. And then we go back to king or queen, and the energy, the emotion is compassion. And the reason why it's compassion, because when we start to do parts integration, then we have different parts talk to each other. If a warrior talks to the king and says, I'm here to serve you, I'm here to do everything to protect you, to fight for you. And the king says, thank you, warrior. I respect and honor your service. And lover says to the king, I am here to love you so fully, so completely, forever. And I'm here to let you know that you're enough and that you're loved. And the king talks back to the lover and says, thank you, lover, for being here for me. And then magician does magic for the king, and the king talks back, and all the parts start to talk back to each other. And now this means different things to different people. The context is very vague and general, so that people can make their own meaning out of this, because we are meaning-making machines in the end of the day. And so compassion being the energy of the king or the queen. And Dr. David Snyder says something like, if he would work with a lady, he would say towards the end of the session, you're the queen of your neurology. You can make any changes anytime you want for your reasons. And you have every right to edit, change, and make things. And that in order for us to do that, we need that, what Fran mentioned, compassion, because without being compassionate, and also it comes with acceptance and love. Without that, we can't just hold these parts, and there's a lot of resentment, denial, repression, suppression of the parts, and that actually gets us in trouble. So just by having compassion, I think the integration happens naturally inside of us.
That was so beautifully said. It's making me think of something I kind of want to, because I haven't really done it the way you described with the queen and the king. I love that. But I have done it with the heart and the brain and the gut, getting them to talk to each other. And a couple, three things kind of came to my mind. One of them is, compassion, by the way, is kind of mixed in this, but one of them is trust. And this idea that these parts of me don't need to be at war. This is not a zero-sum game. And so as my brain and my gut get together, because my brain used to just dismiss and didn't even check in with my gut originally. But as my brain says, you know what, I'm going to say what I think, heart, you say what you think, gut, you say what you think. But none of us gets to just dictate everybody. We're going to all discuss, and we're all going to see who's making what good points. And we'll come to a better decision together once we've all had our input than any one of us would have made alone. And we're not going to go until, you don't have to agree necessarily that that's the way you want to go, but all three brains have to say, okay, I'm on board, I'm willing to try this. This is not being forced on me, kind of thing.
Exactly. So you don't have to agree, and I love that. And just go back to the quote that Elijah shared earlier. It was something between the lines. You nod, you smile, and you agree. And I really love that quote. And I agree with especially with the first part. And there is a part where it's also I'm going to bring up Dr. David Snyder, because he says something about that. Agreeableness, where we find the part that we agree with. We agree with that part. We don't agree with the whole picture and then just say, you know, fuck off, I'm going to do anything I want. I believe because if I want all my parts to trust me, I want to stay in integrity. So I want to make sure I only agree with what I agree with. And that's the only thing I would add to that quote Elijah earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say too, like a lot of trust, and this goes with human relationships too, just knowing you were heard in a fair way could take a lot of that resentment out. And then another thing that I will say is knowing that every single part recognizes that it has parts that are healthy and beautiful and parts that are unhealthy, and that it also has parts that are mature and wise and parts that are immature and still learning. But that each of those parts, when they admit, okay, I was wrong here, that doesn't mean I'm going to shame you. That doesn't mean I'm going to get mad at you. That's me going to say, that's the nature of being human, of course. And I'm so proud of you for learning that. Even if we did the wrong thing, it wasn't the wrong thing because it was something to learn. And so I think that when we don't have to be shamed,
right,
we recognize those things better.
So every time a part of us comes back, the younger versions of ourselves, and it comes and brings with it its behavior, beliefs, emotions. So it's it's almost like persona. So that's why we are in different states when we do different things. And so I have experienced that so much in my life, to where when I go do yoga, I feel so much feminine energy, and we all hold hands and we om, right? It's one energy. And then when I go do martial arts, you know, you're sweaty with like 10 other guys, and then, you know, put the gloves on and beating the hell out of each other. It's a different masculine energy completely. So imagine how much of a different state I have to be in, and on maybe other people. I don't know how many. I never heard of anybody who's really into yoga and really into martial arts. But here's, you know, example of that dichotomy. And it's really interesting how this, like, totally my mindset is different, the way I talk, the way I move, the way I think. And it's really, and you know, I used to be embarrassed of that until I started to do deep shadow work. And now I just look at it, oh, this is so interesting.
I have a story to relate. Oh, am I on? I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt anyone. Years ago, I was working with this woman who had suffered tremendous trauma. So her psyche shattered into these various shards. And first time I was working with her, we met in a restaurant, and she had these cards, and every card, you know, had a different persona. And because, you know, because of the trauma, she would hide in different of these personas. And the first time I met her, I was talking to her, and I said, you think there might ever come a day where you might want to give up the cards, you know, reintegrate the personality? And her face went totally flat. She lost all affect, and a deep male voice, she was a big woman, came out of her mouth, and it was the deep male voice. That wouldn't be a very good idea. And I spent years trying to get her to reintegrate and accept the different parts, you know, the king of spades, I think it was. And she would say, it would come out, suddenly it would emerge, and she'd like true multiple personalities. So she'd be like, yeah, the lady's name was Claire. Claire's evil. I'm going to kill her, you know, but different parts would emerge. And it took a long time for her to accept that they were all her. And it took years, but she was able to reintegrate to heal the mirror, you know, because of the early trauma that just shattered that psyche into so many different shards. And but we did it, you know, took years of therapy though.
Right on.
And I'd love to chip in with the difference between agreeing and accepting, especially when it comes to parts or people who are trying to persuade you that the world is different to how you see it, that if you can come to a place where you can accept them and their view on the world, whether it's a part or another person, in their terms, you don't need to agree with it, but it takes away all the resistance once you've allowed their world in their terms. So I just wanted to point that out, since we were kind of moving into the area of agreeing with people, being persuaded by people, and compassion. You don't even need to be compassionate. You just need to be accepting. And when you accept people on their terms, they feel that you've got them and they will open up to you. So that's my bit.
One thing that I wanted to throw on quick, in addition to what Mark had pointed out, that I learned from, again, Dr. David Snyder, was when you're working with clients with multiple personalities, the personalities were created as a solution to a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And when the conscious and the subconscious of the true person realizes that the problem has been solved, that's usually when the personality either goes to rest or goes away. And I've dealt with it as well with clients. And you guys have heard me say many times, all of us have multiple personalities, absolutely, to the nth degree. When does it become a disorder? Multiple personality disorder. It becomes a disorder when one of the personalities doesn't fit in with the community guidelines of the community that they're in. Now let me explain that a little bit. I saw your look, Mark.
No, I was just trying to. Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you've got a special ops person, they have a personality that is really good at eliminating targets. And when they're on a mission, that's a good personality to have with you. If they're not on a mission and they're in a city, because that personality tells them that people on the freeway are a problem, now they have a multiple personality disorder, because that personality isn't fitting into community guidelines. And if the multiple personalities are having outward reactions and arguments, what we would say almost uncontrollably in public, then that would be against community standards, and they would want some help figuring out who's driving the bus, who's got the spotlight on stage, who gets to be in control. And so we go in and we don't look at the personalities as a problem. We look at them as the solution that they created to the problem. How do we identify with that personality, figure out why they were created? What was the problem that you were brought to light to cover, to take care of, to why are you here? And then we go back and we help them repair the problem that created them in the first place. And once the problem's created, the personality goes, oh, well, I guess it's taken care of. I'll catch you guys later. And off they go. And you just take them one by one until the person of today, whoever is supposed to be the lead, once again becomes the conductor of the orchestra and can control the environment for the situation that they're in. Lenora.
One thing that I always found very interesting, Brent had said to me, a lot of you know I struggle quite a bit with food. He had said to me, good thing you got an eating disorder, because if not, it could have split into multiple personalities. And he had framed it in such a way of be appreciative for the way that you ended up coping. Another level is multiple personalities. And I love that you pointed out, TJ, that it's a solution that that person created to the problem, because it absolutely was a solution. Couldn't tell you why I chose what I chose at the time, but it was a solution and it was effective. And I wanted to also mention, especially about parts, one thing that I had noticed a couple weeks ago, and I think I mentioned it here, was when I looked at my younger self and I had said, who gave that to you? She had literally unzipped a costume and shed an entire costume that she was running around and parading in, as underneath that costume was a completely different part that was not me, but I took it on as a costume as me. And I found that to be wild. I had no idea that that had happened. Another time it had separated and I was holding hands with a younger version that was not me. It's just somebody else's that I took on. So,
Right. So we got Savo and Fran have their hands up. Savo.
So first, thank you, Lenora, for sharing and being confident enough to be vulnerable and to share your example. That's I'm so appreciative here. Yeah. And going back to what TJ was talking about, see, TJ was saying how we start to accept that part of ourselves. It's and then that's the question, and then he said, well, find when that was useful, because that's how we find out that actually that part is doing the best it can with the resources it has at the time for ourselves. And once we get that, then we go, oh, that's a part of us. This part loves us. And so it just doesn't have the right role, function, purpose, and intention, because it's like outdated friend. It also, sometimes some people feel guilty, so much so, and they don't even recognize it's guilt, because it just becomes like a normal state of being. And once we start to recognize and label things, then when we know what it is, we can influence it. So guilt comes up, let's say we understand it's guilt, and then we also start to understand it's like an outdated friend, like someone that's when you're 5 years old, mom was saying something and you created a belief and you created a voice to protect you because back then you were in trouble. And so it's outdated friend. So as we look at it as a friend, and so for me, let's say in my life, I can say that part. How would you name the part? So this is the trick here. So there was this crazy psychologist who would try to name parts, and he would this guy's name was patient Frank, and this crazy psychologist, he said John, come out, and he hit him in the head, and he was trying to name and label these parts different names, and that's really dangerous when it goes to whole different personalities, like parting out. But what we do, the whole work is to become whole, to become like one, and that's the purpose of integration. But this one was doing the opposite. So but let's say if we have to label something like guilt, and I'm just going to close the loop in a second, I promise. If we have to label the part, I would call it Savo's anxiety or Savo's guilt. Like I would put my first name and then I would put the emotion that's attached to that part. So that way it all comes from the wholeness, but yes, there is different branches and different ways in which I was dealing with problems in the past. So I really like that TJ brought up this, why is this resourceful? Or another question that I ask is, what is the highest positive intention? I cannot do, or I have not done, I should say, parts integration or shadow work without asking what's the highest positive intention of that part multiple times, and then why, until that acceptance comes in, and you know when the work is done, when if you look at the body, and then right after that, the last piece of this is asking that person, if you can give new role, function, and purpose to that part of yourself, what would that be? How would you want, that part to what would you like that part to do for you? And so if the part is anxious, a lot of times client will, because they constantly fight that part, and they're going to say, I want that part to relax me. And then I let client know it's not gonna do that. That part doesn't have that capability. It's like warrior. Warrior is there to protect you. Lover is there to love you. So in which situation in life you actually need this energy? So I have them connect to the feeling and feel when that would be resourceful. So that's how they got new role, function, and the purpose and new intention for that part. And all of a sudden, that 5-year-old is now living. And the work is not done. This is like when everything starts. So the inner child starts to live with them, recognized, and he grows and he upgrades as the person goes through life. So with every day of understanding, it just gets better.
Well, I'm going to change the pace by saying I have a multiple personality glove. I went to try and find it and I can't find it. It's a glove that you put on with little different heads. And it's great for therapy and for lightening everything up. It's kind of even a variation on the swan technique and the 3-chest therapy. But to actually get the different personalities talking to each other, it's fun. I think it's fun. When my younger daughter was very little, she used to shut herself away and have little parties with she pretended each finger was a different kitten, and they'd have these wonderful conversations and parties, and you'd hear all this noise coming with different voices and you think, what's going on here? She had a party all by herself, just with her multiple personality kittens. So why not have fun with it too?
And playfulness is one of the best energies to be in, especially for change work. And I love that Savo brought up allowing those parts to have a continuing role, even a different role. I've worked with clients who found out that they had a 12-year-old version of themselves that was sabotaging everything because they didn't understand the direction things were going in. They couldn't see the vision. This is the way it's got to be. This is it. We only make this much money. Anything more than that is greed. Da 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 da. And after we went in and had a little discussion with the 12-year-old and did a little future pacing and showed them the vision of where we were trying to go, and this 12-year-old was like, "Oh, well," and I would go, "So now that you understand the vision, can we now make you the protector of the vision? And you have permission to kick the current self in the butt if they're not doing it right." And of course, the 12-year-old's like, "Oh, yep, be right on that. Yep, right there. Oh, I got a job." And they move from sabotaging the project to pushing and fueling the project, because the energy that they had was either going to be used for good or bad. and and you swap it around, you haven't you haven't destroyed the energy, you've just changed the direction it was flowing in. That makes sense? Well, that gives us 15 minis left for, yes, go ahead, Mark.
I just wanted to say that recently I realized that because of all the change work I did with David and others, that the realization came to me that, people are pathological, gamblers. I feel that I've reached a stage where I'm pathologically happy all the time. And it's a great place to be.
Yay!
Thank you.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I had a new client today who's been dealing with depression, self-esteem, lost their person about 3 years ago, climbed into a hole. And I pointed out to them the reminder that in the quantum of possibilities, and I had to explain that to them because they're like, oh, I went, the quantum of possibilities on if every single possibility scenario ever out there, in the quantum of possibilities, best case scenario has the exact same amount of chances as worst case scenario. And it's going to come down to which one you give more energy to, more focus on, because they both have the same amount of option of happening. What's the only difference between very lucky people and very unlucky people? After all the research that has been done for hundreds and hundreds of years, trying to figure out how to become lucky, they figured out the only difference between the two: lucky people identify as lucky. That's it.
Question relating to that person who found themselves in a hole when they lost their special other person. How much do you find it useful talking to people with pointing out that basically the more pain you feel with loss, the more privilege you've actually had to be connected to that special person? How does that cut in your practice? Do you have that perspective? Does that cut any ice for you?
Are you asking me specifically,
Yeah.
or are you asking the group?
Well, you first and then maybe the group, because you brought the topic up.
I use that, but I also like to do a minor version of 3-chair. And I ask them, okay, so you've been grieving and you've been hurting and you've been suffering for X amount of time. So now, if I had the ability to talk to your person and ask them, how much longer would be justifiable for you to suffer, for them to feel that you've proven your love for them? How much longer might they want you to suffer before they felt legitimized? How much longer would they want you to suffer before you were allowed to be happy again? And when I do it that way, 100% of the time they're like, no more. I said, then they are a good person that really loved you, because they wouldn't want you to suffer anymore. You've suffered enough. You've proven your love. Would they want you to be happy or sad tomorrow? They're watching you. They're right with you. They will be with you for the rest of your days. Do they want you happy, or do they want you sad? And would they be much happier if you were single and never felt love again, never felt that happiness again? Or would they want you to know what that feels like again, maybe even better, because they can't be here physically to allow you to feel that, but they could probably help you find a person so that you can feel that again, so that they can enjoy watching you be happy again. And that doesn't take away from who they were, what they offered. It simply allows you to be happy again.
And sorry, can I have a quick add on? When the person hasn't actually died, but the relationship's over, can you translate that into similar context?
Yes, if you think about who the person was at the epitome of your relationship, not at the end, is that a better version to carry with you? Because neither one of you are the same person today. And Elijah put in, once they're gone, what they want is irrelevant. That, I'm going to say, is luckily, I won't tell my clients that, because if they accept the fact that the person that they lost loved them, and if the roles were reversed, and you were the one that was gone and your partner is the one alive, and you can be there, but you can't talk to them, you can't physically do things for them, but you get to sit there and watch them suffer for how long, then I don't know about anybody else, but I wouldn't want to sit there and watch my loved one suffer. I'd be like, please find happiness some way, somehow. Attach to the version that you miss the most and stop missing it, because if you can relive it, if you can remember it, it's still there. Lenora.
About a year or so ago, I actually had a very dear friend, unfortunately, unexpectedly leave the earth. And she left in such a way that it was very shocking. And TJ had actually walked me through this process of talking with them. And Elijah, I think this might resonate a little bit from what you shared earlier. I was so angry. I was volatile. And I couldn't understand why. And because I was able to have a conversation with her in the way that I had a conversation with her, and with gentle guidance and space to have a conversation, it truly was pivotal. It was absolutely shocking, because you're so angry at this person. And then as it had evolved, and it happened to evolve in that session, that there was resolve. It was deep and it was powerful resolve. And it was just something that was, it truly, truly has stuck with me.
So I would just like to invite everybody who's here, because I got permission, my boss TJ, to share, because my webinar tomorrow is about relationships and it's free. And I have a special guest, lady who has about 500,000 followers, and that's all she talks about. And she's a hypnotherapist. She has very, very good practice, and there's a lot of experience. So tomorrow it's going to be about that. It's going to be about relationships and also a bit of shadow work in relationships, recognizing the shadow of a partner, your own. And Fran, you said the link, and I already copy pasted it here in the chat. So if you guys want to copy paste, it's California ×6. So I would love to see you guys. Thank you, TJ, for allowing me to share.
Oh, dude, anytime. That's what this platform is for. We're here to promote and build up the community. That gives us 4 minis. Time flies, I tell you. In fact, I joked with one of my clients today. I said, time manipulation isn't all that hard. You know, I can prove it. See how long a minute is when you're doing a plank. A minute turns into an hour. And then notice how much time flies when you're trying to get ready. Or you want to get just 2 more minutes of sleep. And you blink and you open your eyes and an hour went by, just like that. Like, put the time manipulation isn't that hard. It's just learning how to do it intentionally when you need it to work that way. Anybody else got something quick that they want to?
Sorry, quick question for Savo. Is it tomorrow or is it Thursday?
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. It was just a time manipulation distortion. It's Thursday, so it's in 2 days from now. Thank you so much, Holly, for bringing that up.
Good save. Good save.
I have a question for Savo. You know how if you're in an accident, time really does slow down amazingly. In your fighting days, were you able to slow down time in the ring?
Yeah, it's like you have to. You people do it naturally. Muhammad Ali said that he would literally dissociate from his body so much that the punches wouldn't feel so painful, and he would be able to see the opponent from the back. And yes, the time is really slow, because if it's fast, then you get hit in the face, and that's never a good thing. Unless you like it.
Everybody
That
got
all
a
factors
plan until
into-
they get hit in the face.
That all factors into being in the zone. When you're in the zone, you're going at normal speed playing basketball, but everybody else is moving in slow motion. And I wasn't the fastest or the tallest or could jump the highest, but I could, when I was in the zone, everybody else slowed down. I could get a fingertip on the ball. I could intercept a pass. Because when you're in the zone, for you, time slows. You're moving at normal speed when you're in the zone, but everybody else is moving at slow motion. So you can
that means
see
you're
what they're
really
going to
fast
do.
in your head. In your head,
Yeah.
everything is happening fast, and outside it's happening slow. So if I'm fighting and someone hits me in the face, and I go, oh, great, they're my teacher now. They're letting me know I was thinking. But by hitting me in the face, they become my teacher. And unless I'm really stubborn and my ego is huge, and I go, and I try to hit them, and obviously then I get knocked out. So that's the principle, that stuff that I've experienced in fighting. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to quick ask Holly how she did with the question that Savo had asked.
Well, I have an answer and then a follow-up question, but I don't think we have time to go through that this week. So I'll try to remember for it next week. But thank you for following up.
I mean, you can't summarize it in 60 seconds?
I guess with time bending, maybe I'd be able to, but
Well, I don't know, I'm a little biased, but thank you guys again for another great Triple T. I appreciate you, and you guys know what's coming up. This is where I get to thank you for your time, because it's something that I cannot produce and give back to you. So for you guys to take your precious, precious commodity and invest it here on this platform for everybody involved, I truly appreciate it. And for those of you on YouTube that stick around, love you, Mom. And for those of you watching the recording, thank you for watching it all the way to the end. As always with the YouTube stuff, please click the subscribe and ring the bell and leave comments and comments on your comments and all the above. And I just really, wow. Wow, thank you. 94 of these already, getting closer and closer to triple digits. And so take the next 7 days and live life well, treat yourself well, be nice to each other, and hope to see you back here in 7. Love you guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Great job, TJ.